have a new member on, and maybe if current board members could introduce themselves, and Chris, maybe you might want to say a few words about yourself first, then we can kind of go around the table, just in terms of introductions.
Okay, thanks. My name is Chris Mena. Nice to meet you all tonight. I did get the chance last week to meet with Mike to get some good background information about the way the committee works. And needless to say, I'm looking forward to learning more about the CPC in Upton. I moved here about 2.5 years ago from Shrewsbury, where I was not involved in the CPC. It was just getting off the ground as I was getting ready to move out of town. But I learned quite a bit about the CPC in my first year or so down here, and thought it would be a good group to get involved with if there was a need. And I was able to work this into the schedule that I have, which is not as bad as it used to be because I'm recently retired as well. But I really do appreciate the opportunity that the selectmen gave me to join this committee. Appreciate what I've learned so far about the committee from Mike, as well as from the quite a bit of reading I've done from prior minutes and the community preservation draft plan and a list of some of the projects that have already been funded. Very impressive. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Chris, and welcome.
Thank you.
Let's see, Kathy, could you say a few words? Are you?
Sure. My name's Kathy Robertson. I'm invisible tonight. I grew up in Upton, moved out for a bunch of time, and then moved back about 6 or 7 years ago. I'm on the planning board and the Affordable Housing Trust. And I believe I am a selectman's designee. Brian, you're the Affordable Housing Trust designee, correct? To the CPC? You're muted. Nod. But anyways, yeah, and you know, it's an interesting group, and I think a lot of the stuff they do in the town of Upton is really important and has a really great impact on the community.
Thank you. Chris Scott.
She texted earlier that her phone wasn't doing audio.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, Chris is the Conservation Commission representative. She's Conservation Commission chair. Has been involved in town for many years. Long-term resident. Brian.
Brian, you're muted. We can't hear a word you're saying.
You're not muted. It's just your microphone doesn't seem to be working.
Chris, this is the problem with remote meetings, is they always glitches to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes, Brian, if you go off and go back in, it helps.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. All right. Oh, and Rick just hopped up.
Yeah, so this is Rick Porter. I'm part of the recreation team, and you know that the designee from that team onto this group as well. Been here, I lived in town all my life. I think it's, I don't know, 7, 8 years now on the recreation side, and I think this is now my 3rd year with CPC stuff. So yeah, it's like Mike and Kathy have already mentioned, right? It's a good, well-rounded team, diverse members from various committees within town that make up this group. So it's not all kind of one directional, right? You get thoughts and opinions from all angles. So it's a it's a great little group. Actually, a great big group since recreation's a small group compared to this. So
We currently have 8 members, and looking for one more if anybody knows anyone who would like to apply. Okay, well, thanks everybody for that.
Mike,
And then,
I think Brittany's on the call too.
oh, is she?
Yeah.
Okay,
I am,
Brittany.
yes.
Okay,
Hi.
hello.
Hi. I was a couple minutes late, so I think we're just introducing ourselves. Is that
Yes, we are for
Okay.
our new member, Chris Maynard.
great? Brittany Bessler. I moved to Upton in 2021. And one of the first residents I met was Rena Richards, who used to be on the committee for years, and we joined book club together, and she got me kind of interested in getting involved. And I am the Housing Authority's designee on the CPC.
Right, thank you. Miss anyone? Russ, is Russ on? Just historical, we have one member's not on, Russ Wood, who's historical commission representative. Okay, so
Mike, I think we might have switched that to John Kehoe, actually. I don't know if he had attended the last meeting.
no, I didn't know that, and I don't think
Yeah.
he attended the last meeting.
Oh, he
Okay.
didn't. Okay.
I don't recall that he did. So
well, with that, Craig, was that posted in the meetings minutes, and did we try to switch things around to get him, like Russ, removed from CPC accounts and him on? Any idea?
I'm not aware of that. My understanding was that Russ and John were going to attend the last CPC meeting, and Russ was going to kind of show him the ropes, I guess, more or less. But I guess that might not have occurred. It sounds like so.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I would Craig, I would have the historical commission send an email to the acting town manager and the staff at town hall, letting them
Okay.
know of this change. Then we can update the website and the email list and things like that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so and then you know just in the email say that at XYZ meeting the historical commission voted to appoint John, is it John?
Yes, John Kehoe. I think it's
Yeah.
Kehoe, his last name.
Okay, great. Okay, well, just let's work on that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Through the chair, I have a question. Brian, can you talk? Is your audio working now? Nope, not.
Hmm.
Gotta be
Okay.
muted.
That's unfortunate. I guess, Brian, if you can send messages to the chat. I think Mike Antonellis maybe can kind of monitor the chat for us. Mike, could you please?
You got it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, next thing on the agenda is vouchers, and there's one voucher over $500 needs approval. It's for the Pratt and Mill Pond management study. The chair of the Lakes and Ponds Committee has approved payment of the voucher. So I'd like just a motion from this committee, the CPC, to allow me to sign that voucher.
So moved.
Is there a
Yeah,
second?
so moved. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, voice vote as much as we can do. Mike, aye.
Rick, I.
Kathy, I.
Yeah. Okay.
Brittany, I.
Yeah.
Chris said yes. So, yep.
Okay. Ready. Okay, thank you. Well, let's move on to the agenda. Just a couple of quick updates on existing projects. The Lakes and Ponds study is still underway. I think we're expecting to get some some pieces of the management report soon from the contractor, which is TRC. The request for proposals for the Robertson Trail Bridge went out a week ago now, roughly a week ago. We're expecting, hopefully we're gonna get some bids. There's a site visit for any potential bidders, September 9th, next Tuesday. So actually, if anybody hasn't seen the site and would like to see it, please join us at the site visit. I don't know if any potential bidders are gonna show or not. We've had a fair amount of interest. People have downloaded the requests for proposals. Although I think a lot of the companies who have done it, I kind of question whether they would be into trail bridges. I think they're larger, more traditional construction companies, I think, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll get some bids. Okay, next, any questions about that? Updates? Next on our agenda, and which will probably take most of the time tonight, is to go through some potential warrant articles for the fall special town meeting. This warrant closes, I believe, Friday. Mike, is that right? I think it closes Friday.
For
Yeah.
the 5th, which is Friday. Yes.
So we'd like to be able to have at least some draft articles submitted to the select board by then. And there are some that are very much kind of in flux right now, and I could probably jump around. Maybe we could talk about Holy Angels first, since I know probably there's some people here who are interested in that. So Mike, do you want to give us an update on
Yeah.
Holy Angels?
And I don't believe we had a quorum of CPC at the last select board meeting, but there were a couple members there. Mike, you were there, and Craig, I believe you're not on the CPC, but you were there.
Catherine was there.
Oh, Catherine, yeah, you were dialed in, yeah. So I did forward out the Criterium Dudka report, I think yesterday to a bunch of the different boards. I forget if I included CPC on that. Oh, but I included you guys got it ahead of the select board meeting. I know it was sent to you. But if you don't have it, just email me and I'll send you the link that you can access that full report, so you can get a sense of it. So Criterium Dudka, which is the engineering company that, architecture firm that reviewed Holy Angels Church to make a host of recommendations to bring it up to code, to support a assembly use generally is the category. And so they made comments regarding ADA, fire safety, sprinkler, exterior evaluation of the exterior, to be identifying rotting and what would need to be done to fix up the exterior, but also what is impacting it from the interior as far as moisture and water leakage coming in from the belfry or wherever. So they identified a whole host of problems, obviously, but they identified the solutions as well. So, the solutions is an estimated cost of $1.8 million to bring it up to a usable structure. So it'll be outfitted with HVAC, ADA, fire rated systems, and all those sorts of literal bells and whistles. So that's the cost right now that we are looking at it. I spoke with. And I should say there are a couple outstanding questions that arose from that meeting. Like, was prevailing wage included in that cost estimate? So I'm currently I reached out to Criterium Dutka to get an answer on that. I have not received an answer back yet, but I did get a confirmation email saying that they received my questions. The elevator for ADA access was also a question of, there's 2 floors. Obviously, the previous use of Holy Angels, there was the main floor, which was the church itself, right, with the altar and the pews. And then there was the bottom floor, which was more of a function space, I believe, is my understanding of how that was used previously. And so the question of do we need an elevator in order to accommodate today's standards for ADA and Architectural Access Board use? So I reached out to them for that question. Honestly, I think the answer to that question is going to be, it depends on if you want to use that bottom floor. I think that's going to be the answer we get back, but I did ask that question. And then so I was speaking with Dennis, our interim town manager, DPW director, Dennis Westgate, because he was in discussion with, and if you remember from the meeting, the town currently has contracts with, I'm forgetting the name of the company, the one that did the project management for the community center. So the company that the town engaged to do the OPM, the project manager for the community center, we still have under contract, so we can use them as a reference and reach out, as well as Wesson Sampson, which is a well-known engineering firm who's currently doing work for us. So he engaged in conversation with them to get an understanding of what their reactions were to the 1.8 million. He told me that they generally thought that was a low estimate, that it'd be higher, but he also expressed that they were providing him with, and I don't have this in writing currently, these are just conversations that Dennis was having with them, that they are thinking that as far as an OPM and to get the design work done, that's going to be likely another 500,000 on top of the 1.8. And then additionally, those who were present know that there was an estimate thrown around as far as the remediation costs for mold and asbestos and lead. The architect said no more than 500,000. Conversations with folks that Dennis was speaking with were estimating around 400,000. So these are costs well up and above 1.8. So we're looking to obviously refine these numbers and get a better understanding of what the true cost will be to renovate this structure. So that is all the information I currently have. Like I said, these are just conversations that I've had today before this meeting with Dennis Westgate and also Mike. I was keeping Mike in the loop.
Thanks, Michael. So is it fair to say, are we still, we're thinking of a potential article which would fund an OPM, an owner's project manager, and perhaps get through 25% design?
Oh yeah, Mike, that was your question to me, which was does the 500,000 include full designs, or is that 25,000? I did reach out to Dennis, but I haven't heard back from him on that question. So that's an outstanding question of that estimate of 500,000. Is that 25% design for the renovations, or is that a full design at 100%? I don't know right now. But yeah, no, the original intent to draft an article for the warrant was to identify a certain percentage of that 1.8 million, which is, I'm told, up to 15% is what you'd want to set aside for an OPM, as well as additional cost, additional funding within that ask to, once you bring in an OPM, to immediately start doing some design, so you're not bringing on an OPM and then not doing much for a while before you go to the next town meeting to get additional funding and things like that.
Through the chair, I just have a fundamental, more like a statement to make, is I think that bringing this up at the fall town meeting is incredibly, incredibly premature. I tried to bring this up at the selectmen's meeting, but as everyone probably heard, the sound was particularly awful that night, so I couldn't really hear what was being said. And every time someone tried to talk into the meeting, it sounded like they were screaming. So it was just not a good situation for anyone there. But right now downtown, we have two former churches. This is in downtown Upton, that are underutilized and need significant repair. In this particular, for Holy Angels, it seems like somehow a decision has been made that we're going to go ahead and spend, at least $4 million in restoring a church for which, there is a potential use, which is there's been talk about, creating like an arts building there. And although I really like that concept, it's a concept. And so, we're looking at spending a boatload of money, doing something that I don't believe has ever been bought before people to decide if that's what we want to do. We're talking about bringing in an OPM, but before we know what we're doing. And I think spending, upwards of $4 million. And, again, that number doesn't include handicap parking. It doesn't include, I don't know what's going on with wetlands there. I haven't heard from, and maybe Craig can answer that, but if the EDC has weighed in on that. And I think it would be really valuable, at least to me, and I know this is unpopular, and I believe it for all three of the churches, including the Unitarian Church, is, you look at all options, and one of the options is demo and seeing, what could be built there. I mean, do I like doing that? No. I mean, those churches are all part of, I went to the Unitarian Church growing up. These are all part of, the history of Upton. But, that's a boatload of money to spend, without a definite use. It's a boatload of money to spend without looking at other options. It's a boatload of money to spend when the first time we're bringing it to town meeting is making it seem like this is a direction the town is already taking. And I'm just simply not comfortable doing, maybe the Springtown meeting, when, things get clarified as far as how this fits into the downtown economic development plan. We look at the cost of demo as opposed to keeping it there when the arts district, has been able to really, or the arts, was it the 140? No, the arts, I'm drawing a blank on what the name is, comes up with a real detailed plan and funding sources. I mean, speaking for myself, I really want more information before I want to put this on the warrant for the fall town meeting.
Well, one question I have, Catherine, to everyone is, we do have a month, at least, maybe a little more, before we would have an actual hearing and need to vote on whether or not to recommend this to the voters at the fall town meeting. So I think right now, I think the issue at hand is just whether or not we could draft an article for the special town meeting with an understanding that it's just a draft and it may or may not be recommended by the CPC. When we do have a hearing, a public hearing on it. I think on the other side of this question, Catherine, is every month or year that we let go by, that church is going to be in worse shape.
That's correct, Mike. But if we do spend all this money fixing it up and there's no use for it, it's just going to start to
Well, part of the thought here, though, is this is kind of a phased approach. If we did begin to do some design work, had an OPM on board who could really kind of provide some good cost estimates for the work, then we'd have a chance to take that information before the town meeting, maybe in next spring, or even a year from now, next fall, to ask for, or maybe pass on asking for the actual construction cost, or to take it the rest of the way to 100% design, and then to actually do construction. So I
So
think,
what are we talking about for this town meeting?
well, that's what I don't think we have a firm estimate yet. Like Mike was saying, I think they're still trying to get a handle on what an OPM would cost, maybe an OPM services, through the 25% design phase, and in engineering services through 25% design. We don't have that number yet. We can, it's probably not going to be, I would guess, not going to be $500,000. It's probably going to be less than that, but we're not sure what it will be.
Mike, can I make a comment? Ed Phillips?
Yes, Ed. Yes, go ahead.
Just an observation that this whole discussion at the select board level began 2 years ago with an issue with the roof on Holy Angels leaking. And I believe there was a conversation at that time between our town manager and our DPW director that there was nobody in town responsible for the annual inspection or suggestions of repairs to any town building, including the town hall, including anything. And that's where this began. An article went before the townspeople 2 years ago, 22 months ago, which authorized the expenditure of $110,000 to repair, paint the exterior of the Knowlton Ristine and the exterior of Holy Angels. At that time, and several times since, I've had conversations with both Joe and Dennis about repairing the envelope of the building to at least allow it to stand while, we go through all these machinations to come up with suggestions, proposals for what to do with the building. I believe that evolved into, let's call the engineering firm that did the study back in 2019 on Holy Angels and have them update that study. Has the building further deteriorated in the last 6 years? Was anywhere in that study, was there any recommendation for what it would cost to repair the envelope of the building? Replace the roof, repair the siding, to be able to seal that building up so it can sit for another 10 years and hope that money, proposals, ideas come across the bow of what to do with that building. And that would cost 200, 300, 400,000, not $500,000, 2 million, 4 million, just to repair the envelope of the building. And I think that's what the focus ought to be between now and November's special town meeting. You already have $55,000 to $60,000 that has been authorized to be for use on that building that has not been spent. It was intended a year ago, we were going to paint the building until, again, several conversations I had was, why are we putting paint on a building that's leaking, siding's coming off, et cetera? It's a waste of money. And I think that's what led to an engineering review, et cetera. My belief is that the townspeople voted to authorize money to do some repairs to the exterior of that building, to keep it looking nice, to keep it tight. And somebody decided, let's paint it rather than let's put a new roof on it. We could have a new roof on that building right now with the money that was authorized. Before we get involved in hiring an OPM and, more engineering studies and spending $500,000 to decide how to fix the building. I think that's insane at this point. That's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you. Any other comments from the
I agree with Ed.
from the committee?
I agree with Ed.
So this might be a little bit wider than just Holy Angels, but, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm not, this isn't me slinging arrows at anybody, but, we've bought property in town on Hartford Ave. It's sat, now it needs to be demolished, and we're spending 5x what we thought the original investment was. We bought this building. We've got Knowlton Racine building, right? That we're still sitting here scratching our head. What are we going to do with it? Or we're talking about a different property behind the LeClaire, household or Fin and Feather area. We don't, if there's no plan and we're looking at spending money, that's just going to end up costing the town more money to let them sit. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I think we need better plans to know what we're going to do with these properties before we go start, spending money, good money after bad, or good money on top of good money, right? Certainly agree with that. Hey, if it's just the shell, that's one thing. Doing the heating, plumbing, and other things, not knowing what the plan is for the building wouldn't make a lot of sense to me, because who knows what we're going to need to reconstruct once we do have a plan for the building. So, and if that's a upstairs, downstairs type of scenario that does require an elevator, it's just, again, now more money that we're going to have to go back and maybe sink our teeth into. So I do feel though it's a little early and without a plan. And my worry is because there isn't necessarily a plan, that the people in town are gonna start questioning exactly what are we doing with this thing, right? Why are we continuing to bring this church up on articles and there's still no plan for what's going on with it? So just my 2 cents.
One way to look at it, Rick, is and like the community center right now, it costs, I don't know, it's close to $15 million, I think, to repair it. But if we're running out of space in that community center, so in 5 years from now, we might need another civic building. So using if we were to spend $5 million to fix up this church, it might actually save us a lot of money in the long run, because maybe we spend $5 million to fix up this church, but if we need to make another big civic building that's going to cost $20 million, it might actually save us a lot of money in the long run. So that's one way to look at it.
So fair.
Just
There's nothing documented saying anything on that, right? So that's just it's new information. And sorry, Kathy, I don't know if you were going to come back in with some of the same info.
Same thing, Mike. You go. I mean, Rick.
Yeah, and that's all well and good. I mean, and I guess maybe that's part of that next stepping stone, right? Of how do we map it that way to know what those future needs are in the next 5 to 10 years, to know, hey, here's a building, right? That we have. If we start doing this now, this could be, this can offset this other, level of stuff, and away we go, right? But therefore, there's a plan and purpose, right? And I think that's at the end of the day, I think that's what we're asking for.
And just as a side note, I'm the facilities director of a newly founded 140 Arts. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. So our nonprofit is going to be meeting with the select board to kind of discuss our relationship with the town. Do we have a public-private partnership? So I would definitely encourage anyone who's interested to join any future meetings and have discussions about that and engage for sure. So.
And Craig, thank you for that. So you're also on the historical commission, just
yes,
for the record. So okay.
Yep. And I've filed paperwork just to make sure that there's no conflict of interest there. So that's on file.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I would just add, if 140 Arts was to come to an agreement with the select board for future use. I mean, what I heard at the select board's meeting, and maybe just correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 140 Arts would be willing to fundraise, write for grants, things like
Yep.
that. So the bottom line cost to the town probably wouldn't be the full cost of restoration.
Exactly. Yeah.
know.
So we might come up with a large number. Kathy threw out 4 million. That might be the number. I don't know what the number will be, but it might be half of that because of grants that we run. And that's the beauty of a public-private partnership, because the town can apply for certain things and the private 501c3 can apply for certain grant funding. So we can kind of combine those two abilities and kind of manage the cost a little bit to the taxpayer. So.
But I mean, and Craig, I just want to let you know, I really love what you guys are doing, and I'm very supportive of it. My, concern is we seem to be moving one step ahead of ourselves. And it's sort of, the same thing that Ed said. It was, we have this building and we're talking about sinking, for plus or minus at least $4 million, I think, into it. And, and even doing the engineering and design. And it's, it's my understanding from the selectmen, a little bit I could hear, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, when they started looking at some of the more superficial exterior stuff, it just was like, it's still, the building would not be safe. There's structural stuff that's problematic in it. And that's why they came up, they started looking at the much bigger figure, but I still think it's possible to do it for a lot less, like, the HVAC right now, handicapped accessibility, all that stuff. If we structurally, if that's the plan, if that's what people in Upton want to do, if that's what the EDC wants to do, if everybody decides we want to keep this church, that's the highest and best use for this property, then, my recommendation is, we do what we need to structurally secure it. And then, it gives you guys time to, come up with a fundraising plan, to come up with hard numbers, and then we can move forward, incrementally as this goes on. I just, just right now, I'm just really reluctant to commit to, doing detailed engineering studies for something we don't even know if is applicable to the next possible use. I'm really queasy about that.
Yeah, I those are great questions, Catherine. And to answer one of them, if the building is structurally sound, we just completed the engineering report, and the engineers came back and said that the building is in fact structurally sound. They evaluated the foundation. It's a granite foundation, and they used lasers to measure whether the building has moved at all. They said that it hasn't moved at all. So the foundation is totally sound. It's granite. It was built, 250, 300 years ago. So back then they built buildings they overbuilt buildings. So they're just more structurally sound than buildings that they would build today, which is actually a huge asset for our town to have such a structurally sound building that can be fixed up. I know more modern construction, the buildings kind of deteriorate very quickly. Concrete foundations crack, but granite lasts forever. And they also looked at the beams that support the building, and they said that those are all structurally sound. So the engineering report did come back and say it was structurally sound. And I know there's a lot of questions surrounding this that the town will have, and questions that I even have. So I think that was kind of the select board's notion of hiring this OPM is because they have a lot of questions that are unanswered as well. There's a lot of things that are coming up that need answers. So I think the select board's mindset was they don't really know. There's no rule book of how you go about doing something like this. Every situation is different. A lot of towns in in Massachusetts have had the same scenario, and they all have to approach it in a different way. There's no 1, 2, 3 steps to go about something like this. But I think the select board's mindset was that if we hire the OPM, they will be able to help us answer a lot of these questions that we have. So they'll help us develop a plan for going forward. So I think that was kind of their hope, that they could help the select board answer the questions and have the select board guide the town with their answers and what the best path forward is. We don't know what the best path forward is right now. There's a lot of different options. There's a lot of different uses. So I think they'll kind of help guide us through this process. That's kind of my understanding of what the select board was requesting.
I mean, but to go back to what Ed said, parallel to this is, I mean, I thought that the engineering study did detect, like some beams, some support beams that needed to be replaced, some floor, I thought there were a number of structural elements that had to be replaced, which is one of the things that jogged the price tag. I could be mistaken, but I think, if the longer we go on with doing stuff, the longer that building is going to decay. And as Ed said, there's some basic things that can be done and that have already been funded by the town. Like, I think it was $61,000 for the painting that was approved, and they realized they couldn't do that without doing some exterior work because the exterior of the building was so rotten and moldy, and that they couldn't paint it without doing other work. But I think that if the town does decide to go ahead with this, I think that it's critical that we look at keeping it from decaying more.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah, Catherine, one of the problems was that I think when it was a church and functioning as a church, they had put insulation on the inside of the building, and the engineer was saying that that's problematic with these older buildings because they need to breathe. So the first thing I think they would do, I think they were saying, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were saying that they would remove the insulation and seal it from the outside and put weatherproofing on it, and then put maybe new insulation on the inside, and that will somehow allow it to breathe. Because the problem with it having insulation is it traps the moisture, and that's problematic because these older buildings need to have ventilation. So that was one of the things that they wanted to correct. But did I summarize that correctly, Michael?
What was the price tag on that section?
They had come back with 2 different reports. So I think sealing the envelope was the first report, and it was around 600,000. But then there was another report that came out in the end of August, and it raised it to 1.8 million. But there was a lot of additional things that the select board had asked for that second report. And there's going to be another report that's coming out in the next select board meeting, which will be the final price with a couple additional things that included removing the lead piping and any asbestos tiling that might be in the building, and also mold remediation.
Brian,
Can you hear me now?
yes, we can hear you, Brian.
Good. Thanks.
Do you have any comments or?
I was going to say, yeah, Mike's had his hand up for a while.
You can go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, thanks. And Brian had a question. He typed it into the chat. I'll address that in just a minute. I just wanted to emphasize that, hiring an OPM, yes, they will help answer some of these unanswered questions. They'll do that through engaging with the design process on behalf of the town to obtain the town's vision and goal. They'll also help through selecting ultimately the contractor who will do the work and manage that and provide all those administrative tasks that will be enormously burdensome to achieve on behalf of the town to help achieve that vision. But that vision that they're going to help achieve is going to be the one that's presented in the plan that quoted you the $1.8 million, right? So that's the purpose of bringing on an OPM at this point, would be to say, this is the figure that we've been quoted because that figure is what's informing the need for an OPM. The project manager is triggered through procurement law at $1.5 million. So the quote is at 1.8. So anything after 1.5, Massachusetts state law requires that you bring on an owner's project manager, right? So yes, they'll help you answer some of those questions, but they're going to answer those questions not to inform you as to whether or not you want to continue on with the project. They're going to answer those questions to help inform you as to what the cost of the project is going to continue to be. That's my expectation. You wouldn't want to bring on an OPM to then figure out the use. To Brian, to answer your question, right? You asked, are they also tasked to help with defining use in addition to repairing the building? I guess through the chair, Brian, can you? I think I know what you're asking, but can you expand on that at all?
Sure. Some of the comments in this meeting so far have been, we're hesitant to spend the money on this repair, not knowing what the ultimate use would be. And then I gotta admit, I'm not even clear as to what our project would be here. Is this just to fund the OPM? And then I get confused as, like, if we have an OPM, do we have a building project? So, and I apologize, I'm not caught up to speed yet. So I just see some things that are, in my mind, not connected yet.
So, and again, through the chair, a use still needs to be defined via whether or not that's going to be a formal relationship between 140 Arts and the select board, right? So as of right now, there's no, in my view, there's no formal relationship. It's just been conversations that have been between 140 Arts, that is now officially a group via for the 501c3. And the expression, they're the one and only entity that responded to the expression of interest that was set out there, but no formal action was ever taken to solidify that partnership or that relationship between the select board, the town, and 140 Arts. So that question of use is still hanging over our heads, and that's why we're all asking it, right? Is what is the intent? Because there's no answer to that right now, is my understanding. And that'll be helpful. That'll be helpful to understand it, whether or not it is going ahead and issuing an RFP, and then 140 Arts responds and then is awarded that contract, whatever the contract is, to then solidify that professional relationship. That's great, because then it will open the door and increase the chances of me going out for grant money to support that use, because when you submit for grants, you need to have something in mind that you're doing with the money, right? It's not, yes, it's a wonderful thing that we can apply for historical preservation grants, but even the historical preservation grants are going to be a lot more likely to award money if you have an idea of what you're going to be doing with that building, right? So not just restoring it, not just making it look nice, but making it look nice, and what are you bringing to the community with it? And that's a story that's good to tell when you're applying for grants. Conversely, or in addition, if the decision, and I'm not suggesting this, I'm just as an example, if the decision is to convert it into housing, I absolutely can probably get grants for housing, because not only is the state throwing money at housing, right? That's why I got all the grants I did for the smaller projects 2 years ago. It's just because it's a defined use that the state has specific pockets of money that they're looking to fund. So again, whatever the use of it is, if it's 140 Arts, great. If it's something else, great. But just defining that to help the town and me as staff to support the town's vision is helpful.
Yeah.
And just to add on that, Mike, I think the idea with OPM, just because I know it would be a concern of citizens in town, would be to use the CPC funding to provide for the OPM instead of directly asking taxpayers for funding, which would have a direct impact on the taxes. Whereas the CPC funding allocation is already set aside, so we wouldn't be actually raising any taxes from the citizens.
I'm also wondering, if we did fund or propose to fund an OPM with some design money thrown in, which I think was kind of was mentioned at the select board meeting as being something that they would like to see. Perhaps you could target the design funding a bit to focus on preservation of the building. Some design features maybe could come later. For example, plumbing and electrical, things like that. But the focus could be on design could be on the external, stabilization, the roof, the steeple, the leaking steeple, that sort of thing. And to keep the future internal use of the building as open as possible. Not put so much resources into that, but just like Ed Phillips was making a case for, is just get the building stabilized as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something that falls within the four corners of CPC funding. Is
it certainly does. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Anyone else have any other comments here? Brian, yes.
Mike, is there an article in place to actually create a project, a construction project? I've been involved in some building committee projects in the town of the Memorial School project, and we worked with an OPM, so I'm familiar with that. But we had a project first, and then we hired, and part of that project was funded. We would go and hire an OPM, and we did, and it worked out well. But so I'm like I say, maybe I'm catching up here. It doesn't seem like yet we have a project. We have estimates. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do. What's the scope of the work? Is it just to close the envelope and secure it, or is it to do all the work that I see in the 1.8 million? And could someone help me understand where we are?
Well, maybe, Michael, feel free to jump in, but I don't think we're there yet. But what
is our OPM for right now?
Well, the assumption would be that we would start with the design, at least some elements of the design, and the OPM would be responsible for overseeing that work primarily, I think.
Yeah, Mike, I think the OPM, the project is the report right now, right? The project is everything that the report identified that needs to be done. That's my understanding of what the project is, which is the thing that's triggering the requirement for the OPM, is that if you want to achieve that, the goals, I'll just call them goals, or that are laid out in that report that seeks to renovate Holy Angels, then you need to bring on an OPM in order to achieve what's noted in that report. So that, in my view, is the project. That project needs to be more clearly refined and defined by the OPM when they're brought on through hiring and design consultants on, before then going out to bid for the actual construction. That is my understanding of how that is supposed to work. But again, I'm not a procurement expert on these things, but that seems to be how it was described to me and what the intent would be. So it's a matter of right now deciding whether or not the CPC is in support, and you don't have to decide. You don't have to decide anything tonight. You can just just provide comments as to whether or not you'd prefer to see an article that is for the initial cost of bringing on an OPM and doing the design work, or I mean, Mike, you suggested earlier putting on an article for 1.8 and getting full funding. I mean, I say full, it's not going to be full funding at 1.8. We know that it's going to be more than that, but getting full funding now, knowing that you have 1.8 in your undesignated and historical preservation accounts in total. But either way, putting that before town meeting and getting a vote on it is more or less an authorization to achieve that plan, especially the latter, right? If you put 1.8 in front of the town and everyone at town meeting says, yeah, go ahead and spend that money, that's authorization to go ahead and try to achieve that vision that's laid out in that plan. I would say, but the same is if you brought on an OPM, because then you're still spending significant money through CPA funds to bring on a project manager to then go out and get design for the work that needs to be done. That's going to lead to obtaining contractors to do the work. I mean, you're laying the groundwork to achieve that vision in the report.
Mike, just let me jump in because I'm rapidly losing power on my iPad. Even though I have it plugged in, it doesn't seem to like it. I think that at least it seems from this conversation, we're getting hung up on OPM. I don't think we're anywhere near close to hiring an OPM because we don't have a vision, we don't have a plan, we don't have an agreement, and we're asking someone to come in and help us achieve something we don't know if we want to achieve. I would have no problems looking at appropriating money to do, the Ed Phillips plan, which is to what do we need to do that can be done expeditiously to structurally secure that building that'll buy time for us to come up with a plan and a vision of what we want to do with it. Because, as he said, that building is going to come down. And, it's going to fall. If we don't do something with it quickly, it's going to rot to the point where we can't do anything with it. We don't have a choice. And if it is the will of the town, which it seems to be, to save that building, then we need to secure it. But I think it's way premature to hire an OPM. And speaking for myself, unless there's a lot of convincing done, I would not vote to approve that.
Okay. Like my 2 cents would be, the select. I think we should see what the select board, is going to recommend at their next meeting. And I would prefer that the CPC not prevent some proposal from going before town meeting, and let town meeting be the ultimate deciders. That was said at the select board meeting last week too, when the board said that 3 people shouldn't be deciding the future of this structure. Same as 8 people on this committee shouldn't be deciding it. I would, I guess what I'd like to, we don't have a potential warrant article yet to recommend to the select board. So I would propose that the CPC just lets the select board know that we would be willing to consider recommending an article to town meeting after reviewing the article.
It would, Mike, I would generally, because I don't know if people, maybe I'm underestimating, people really know what the difference between OPM is and what we're talking about here. I would not have an objection if it was said that, the preference of the CPC, and I'm speaking for myself, not for the CPC, is to look for an article that calls for a focus on just securing the building and to getting it done, rather than just coming up with money to secure the building and never do anything about it. rather than go the OPM route. Because
Would-
that's locking us into a plan.
Would you like to make a motion along those lines?
We're asking a lot of. Yeah, I move that, and feel free to chime in if people disagree with what I'm saying. I move that the CPC recommend to the Board of Selectmen a warrant article to do an engineering study focused solely on securing the exterior of the building. The roof, the walls, and the painting, and to do what's needed to do, what needs to be done to secure the building.
Through the chair, do you want? I mean, that information I think is already available in the report that was submitted. Do you want to? Is the intent of the motion to fund those aspects that are noted in the report that seek to address the envelope and the items that you discussed, rather than have another report generated?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, to fund the design of securing the exterior of the building.
The design and construction, or just the design?
Do we have the hard numbers for the construction, Mike?
We have estimates in the
Yeah.
report.
Okay. I mean, it can be design and construction because I think it's critical that we move on it.
Yeah.
I think that's fine if you want to leave it as design and construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that accomplishes the will of the Board of Selectmen. And that gives, the 140 Arts Group a chance to really work with the selectmen and coming up as the preferred use. And then we can look at stuff that's customized to that particular use.
Yeah, exactly.
And just another point, if to do that, that brings us below 1.5 million, and therefore potentially we may choose not to do the OPM. If I understand your point, Mike, that any project greater than 1.5 million needs an OPM.
Correct.
And what I did, I just took the 1.86 million, backed out the mechanical, electrical systems, and plumbing of 465. Just as a ballpark to see what that estimate would be, according to the study.
Well, I mean, feasibly, all it is the one line, that's structural stabilization, right?
Well, maybe roof and roof trusses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the painting.
And the steeple.
Steeple, make watertight.
Painting, yeah.
Probably
and
not the drywall and new ceilings.
Yeah, and it's already been
Right.
funding approved for like the painting and stuff like that, so that won't be new funding.
Fair. Yep.
And
No.
Ed, you said 2 years ago there was money appropriated to do some repairs to the exterior, I mean the roof. Okay, so that money's already there too. So there's already money there for some of those elements too. So it's not new money, it's sitting there.
Yeah, I think there might be 60,000 or something to do the roof or to do the painting, one of the two.
Painting, yeah. Yeah, it was a roof I wasn't sure of. I think it's 62 to do the painting or something, but okay.
All right, well, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Yeah, I know Chris said that she seconded it and she agreed to both.
Oh,
So
okay.
assuming that that's still the case as well. So we've got a couple of people that have seconded it. Yep.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, voice vote, please, or make yourself known somehow. Mike, aye.
Yep,
Brian,
Rick,
aye.
Kathy, I.
Kathy, aye.
Brittany, I.
If Chris, Chris and Chris?
Chris Scott
Yeah,
said
Chris-
aye in the
Chris-
chat.
Chris says aye, so Chris Scott did.
And Chris Mena, did you vote? Mhm. Oh, you muted, sir.
Sorry, I said aye.
Okay,
Muted.
thank you. So that's a unanimous vote. So we can let that be known to the selectmen, and I also think I suggest is that we let them know that we would be willing to hold a public hearing for an article, probably in October, probably.
Yeah.
If one was available.
Mike, should I convey that the CPC is not interested? I mean, obviously the motion was the motion. That's what the CPC is willing to entertain. So it should be conveyed to the select board that the CPC is not willing to entertain the other things and to not bother bringing them before the CPC.
Well, we'll see what
For
people think.
right
But I would just present that as the CPC's recommendation, and if the select board would like to come back with an alternative plan or approach, we should listen. We should be willing to. The CPC should be willing to listen.
For sure. Okay.
Chris
Is that all right?
Chris Scott just added to the chat, not yet. And I agree, we're not ready for it yet. I would prefer that we request that we hold that one off, the OPM and the full shebang, until we have more details.
Mhm.
I think that's our responsibility, Mike. I know what you're saying, but I think our responsibility is to be the steward of the funds. And, despite what the selectmen have their role, we have our role. And I just think it's way too premature to do it. And I would prefer that the selectmen understand that.
Yeah, I think we can communicate, or Michael can communicate that with the select board. But and I generally I think I agree with you, but I think we should always be willing to listen. If some other if there's another proposal, we should at least be open to listening to it. Whether or not we vote to approve it or not, it's a different thing. But so
Yeah.
Right.
I'd add to that and just say I'm fully expecting that we'll hear more. Holy Angels will come up a couple other times in the future. As better plans come available for us to make an assessment on, right? I think that's 100% fair.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. And then encourage 140 Arts to really work with the selectmen as soon as possible to work on their vision.
And you guys are doing a great job. I mean, all the stuff you're doing down at the, you guys are doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, Jeff.
It's exciting that a group like yours has sprouted in town. It's really cool.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun. The past 6 months, we've had a lot of programming, and it's been a blast, actually. It's been really fun. So,
thank you. All right. I think anything else on Holy Angels? We've got a couple other projects to discuss. And it's already after 8. So, okay, thanks. So the next thing I think we can discuss is the First Cemetery with the Historical Commission. Are there any objections to proposing an article for that work? It was $125,000. I'm not sure if anyone is here Ed's here. If we have any questions for Ed, he's already presented their proposal to us. We have a proposal in writing as well as his presentation a couple months ago. I did, if I can Give me a moment. I think I sent these to you folks, but I'm gonna try to share.
Yep, we're seeing it, Mike.
Okay, it's making it a little bigger. Basically, this is the first proposed article to be sent, and basic article is here to see if the town will transfer $125,000 from the reserved historic resources account. And then one question, well, two questions in red. One is that the account that we want to propose the funds be drawn from? And then the other thing is I added to be completed within within some number of years. I know, Rick, you've expressed an interest in the past in putting some kind of a time frame on some of these projects. So I wrote that line in case we, the committee wants to propose some time frame. And maybe Ed, if we did propose a time frame, what would you recommend for the project? What's your expected schedule?
Well, the
Completion
goal
schedule?
is to be able to do all of it in less than a year. So I would say to be completed within 1 year would be fully acceptable.
And,
We,
and honestly, I'm okay if that says 2, right? I mean, you know, I get it, but let's, you know, I'm also okay being a little bit reasonable and saying it doesn't necessarily need to be bound to just 1 year. If we write it with 2, I don't think anyone's going to shake a stick at it.
Yeah, no, I'm fine if you want to do that. I'm just saying that there's 2 major components of the project. One is tree removal, and that
Yep.
could easily happen this winter after approval at the town meeting, and recarving of about 15 to 20 stones, which could be done in 3 to 5 months. So 12 months is more than enough time to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. If you want to say 18 months or 2 years, I'm totally fine with that. I would like to report, though, however, that since my last presentation with the commission, I have successfully repaired 10 large stones,
Nice.
5 of which we didn't think were repairable. So they're fully repaired, they're standing tall. And interestingly, a huge surprise is the Colonel Ezra Woodstone that we reported stolen to the police back in April. Suddenly reappeared with more stone than anybody's seen in 30 years with a metal support, and it's standing in the cemetery. We have no idea who had the stone, who repaired it, who brought it back. Unless they heard we were doing restoration work and thought they'd get it out of their garage. I don't know who had it. But every stone that's been repaired and gets returned saves us $2,000 to $4,000 on replacing it. So all is good.
great, good news. I'll pencil in 2 years if that's all right, and then we will reserve historic resources account. We'll use that. I do have a spreadsheet that I can share later. I think there's ample funding in the in that account for this work.
That's great.
So, okay. Do I have a motion to submit this draft article to the select board or to the acting town manager?
I'll move to submit as written.
Okay.
Yeah,
Second?
I'll second that. Yep.
Okay, second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, voice vote or chat vote? Mike, aye.
Okay.
Brian,
Chris,
I.
Kathy, I.
Brittany, I.
All right, I think Chris Scott, did you?
Yep, she agreed.
Okay.
She said hi
Thank-
in chat.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Yep.
Okay, so next one. Let me see if I can find it's for the other cemeteries. Can you see that, or do I need to reach?
Yep, I can see it.
Oh, great. Okay. So this is similar. This was proposed. Is there anyone from the Cemetery Commission here? Is Glenn Fowler on? I thought I might have seen him earlier.
Yeah, Glenn still shows. Al's on.
Yeah. Glenn, if you're around, could you, or, well, all right, well,
I'm
okay, so this one is, it's somewhat similar in wording, although I don't believe we can fund it with this account necessarily. $400,000 would wipe out the historic resources account. And again, Glenn, if you're on, or someone on?
yes, I'm here.
Speak to this. The other question, I know, can you see the article that we're
Yeah.
presenting?
I'd
Not
like
sure.
to propose that we remove the discussion of cleaning stones from it, though.
Cleaning stones.
Right. Our position was to repair bases and get stones standing upright properly. Cleaning is a whole nother bag of worms that we didn't address and do not want to address.
What,
Let's do that if they want.
so where does it say cleaning? Am I missing something?
Right at the end, I think.
Oh,
Unless you check.
okay. Okay, I got it. All right.
Other than that, it's fine.
Okay, and then how many years do you think you might need to do this project?
It depends on the vendor. We have not chosen the vendor, but we did do some exploratory work 3 or 4 years ago and found quite a diversity of opportunities. Some people were willing to throw several people at it, get it done quick. Some of them were 1 or 2 man shops and would take forever. So I think probably 3 years might be a good plan, but I don't know.
Want to say 5?
5 works. If that works for you.
Is that okay with everybody? And then the other thing is the cost, 200,000 to 400,000 is $400,000 still what you feel is appropriate here?
That was the high end. We had a clue from 4 vendors in years gone by bidding on the same work, and the price range was quite dramatic. So I left a lot of room for negotiation if and when we choose a vendor. 2 of the vendors we talked about out of business since then, so it's a whole new game.
So your recommendation would be to stick with the $400,000
As a cap, yes.
as a max?
Yeah.
Okay. And that could be,
I think we can come in a lot less, but I would prefer to be able to do the job completely once we get started.
do you think it's possible between now and town meeting, you could possibly refine that a little bit?
If I knew I would get the money, I'd go after vendors to begin the project, yeah.
So it might be, I mean, we can always say 400,000, but it could be, you could propose less when the article's read at town meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, and thank you. And I think this is going to have to be out of the undesignated account. But I'll show folks that later. Is there any further discussion about this article?
Nope, I think that one makes sense.
All right, do I have a motion to submit this to the acting town manager, select board?
Yep, make a motion to submit this Lakeview, Mapleview, Pine Grove Cemetery work as written.
Second? Or second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mike, aye.
Rick, aye.
Brian, I.
Kathy, I.
Chris, I.
Brittany,
And
Brittany, aye.
Chris said aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. All right, then the next one to talk about is the Fields project for the school district. Don't really have final wording for that article yet. I had some communications with the district, with Jay Breyer, the financial person from the district, and waiting to maybe hear from our town accountant. The thought would be propose to transfer $100,000 into an account which the school district could draw from to pay for the Fields project. We could include that in this town meeting, or we could wait to the annual town meeting in May. I think we can probably have the language worked out in time to make this warrant, but I'm not sure what people think. And again, this goes back just to remind people, back in April, before the annual town meeting, the CPC, met with the school district and with Mendon as well, representatives from Mendon, and we decided to commit to $100,000 a year to help fund the $12 million or so Fields project at the schools.
Yeah, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong though. For some reason I was thinking that we had already approved it. It already went to town meeting, and that was part of the approval, right? Where there was really 4 or 5 things that were, or sorry, 3 different things that ended up being talked about from the school side, right? So isn't it really just a matter of, when Kenny frees up from kind of finishing all the year, the 2025 closeout, to get direction on how we, ties that over the next 1 years?
There wasn't a CPC article at the annual town meeting in May. So no, I think we need one to actually transfer funds, and we probably need to do it every year, similar to what's done with the town hall bond. But the question is, do we start now or do we wait until next year? Jay wasn't sure whether or not Mendon has started to put aside their allotment, that meant the Mendon CPC was going to do the same thing, basically. I mean, I think we could probably have an article ready in a week or two. I was just gonna, but we just don't have the wording right now.
Yeah,
Guys,
so September, yeah, I guess October, November. Yeah, I think we still have, yeah, we probably still have time in order to get that done and then vote on whether or not to move it forward for a public hearing scenario, right? So
Yep.
maybe we chair that for now.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion just to submit a placeholder article to the selectmen, with the understanding that it's going to need to be revised for the school district.
Yeah,
field
that's true.
project.
Yeah, because that needs to be in for Friday, right? So.
Yep.
Yeah. Because it can always be pulled. So I'd rather submit it, reserve the space to submit an article for, the school fields scenario, or field reimbursement, article forthcoming.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion?
Mike,
All right.
Mike,
Yes.
before we, well, though, by that point in time, we would have probably from Kenny, and also Jay and maybe the Mendon, financial person, of how to do the accounting, right?
Right. Yes.
I feel when we
Exactly.
do this, I'd like to know how that accounting would be. I feel more comfortable.
Yep.
Also, I think that it's, even if Mendon did not ever approve one of these, because there's potentially 20 different town meetings we have to go to, right? Each year for the 100,000. Our 100,000, if we approve, would always impact the Upton taxpayer only, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there's no benefit to Mendon if we move forward and they don't any one particular year.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. And the 100,000, they may not draw the $100,000 for a number of years. If we put it in a special account, it may sit there for a while until they have bills to pay, for the field project, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Any other comments on that one? Okay. Hearing none, Mike, aye.
Rick, I
Brian, I.
Brittany, I.
Chris, I.
Kathy,
Mhm.
I.
Kathy, aye.
and Chris Scott said aye.
Okay, thanks,
Chat.
Mike.
Yep.
All right, so that sounds unanimous. Okay, hate to do this to you. There's one thing that came in really, really late. Oh, actually, I do want to show you something. I just want to share this. And don't these numbers, obviously. Can you see this spreadsheet?
Yes.
Zoom it a bit. I just thought it might be interesting to see where we were. Okay, beginning balance, we just got this from the town accountant in the different accounts. Total of about $3.7 million. Estimated fiscal year revenue, I used 900,000, which is a little bit less than what the revenue was last year, and just broke it up into the 10% accounts. and then these are the balances after that. And then I just added some potential projects. The First Cemetery, the Fields project, which we just talked about, Holy Angels up at this number. Probably not going to be that number. We don't know what's going to be yet. And then the cemeteries. So at the end of the year, we probably, if all these are approved at town meeting, probably wouldn't have a balance too much different than what we started with in the beginning of the year. I can send this spreadsheet around to everybody. There's one other project that's on here that just came up. And I sent around an email around just before the meeting. I actually got the cost estimate around 6 p.m. this evening. And this is for to make some repairs and restoration of a boardwalk at the Haworth Glen Conservation Area. There's a boardwalk there that was built by Boy Scouts around 2010. It's got pressure treated decking, which is in kind of rough shape. It's no longer safe for horses. It was partially funded by Bay State Trail Riders way back when, but we have signs posted that it's not safe for horses. It also lacks guardrails, which was kind of probably a design flaw to begin with, because there are some drops that are about more than 5 feet along the boardwalk, which really should have guardrails. So we have a cost estimate from someone named Bob Hatch, who specializes in these fiberglass reinforced panel boardwalks. Basically, we did this at Warren Brook. Bob did a project last year or so, 2 years ago, at Warren Brook. Very similar project where he'll come in and put these fiberglass reinforced panels down on the existing boardwalk, put down some geotextile and some gravel to make it a safe surface for horses for quite a few years. And then at this Haworth Glen boardwalk, we'd also put the guardrails up, so it was safer. I have a cost estimate from Bob of around $20,000. Just came in today. Talked about this with the Conservation Commission at the last meeting, but we didn't have any decision made because we didn't have any cost estimates from Bob. It's possible the commission could fund part of this work with funds we have, but I just don't know. So I guess the question is for you folks is would it be all right to submit a kind of a draft article for this work along with the other articles? I haven't had a chance to draft it yet, an article, but it would probably use open space funds. It would be drawing upon the open space funds.
Yep. Okay with that.
I am too.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
No.
Okay, thanks. So I'll draft up an article to submit for this too. Okay.
So Mike, the plan there would be, if that's an article, so we're kind of doing the same thing where we're reserving the space for it, right? Just because it needs to be in, we need to have kind of a high level submission for Friday, right? So, and then we'll work on, the exact wording, for our next month's meeting.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I could let the, in the cover email to sending these articles, I could put that in there. And
Yep.
then probably the last thing we should do is just, do we want to have for whatever articles are carried forward, do we want to have the public hearings posted for October? Or do we, Michael, do you know when the
Yeah.
town meeting is in November? What the date is offhand?
Oh, good question. No.
Okay.
I'll see if I can't track down that information
For November.
shortly, but I don't know it offhand. So
Okay.
we do it on a Thursday?
Yeah, so it must
Alright.
be, it probably wouldn't be any earlier than the 6th, which is
Oh,
the
no.
first Thursday,
Yeah.
and the first Wednesday is the 5th. So conceivably, we cutting it short though to have the hearings on the 5th of November. I kind of prefer to do them in October, or at least propose to do them in October, and if
Yeah.
something's not ready, and we still have November potentially. Does that sound good to folks? We'll
Yep.
shoot for getting public notices out there. Probably we need about 2 weeks, right, Mike?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so within the next couple of weeks, we'll try to firm everything up.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
on the,
Sure.
I like the spreadsheet you have. Could we add on the community housing possible expenses? Well, I guess at the annual town meeting, it was agreed to for $160,000 for Habitat for Humanity for the 28 Hartford Ave project.
Okay, just Brian, this spreadsheet is just for the unobligated funds. So it's the projects that have already been obligated, like that Hartford Ave project and the Lakes and Ponds project and the Robertson Trail Bridge, they're not part of this. Matter of fact, see if I can go to if you can see this sheet.
Yep.
See, so I basically just took this out of this spreadsheet. This is from the town accountant, and then all the other projects that have already been funded, are here, including I hope your looking for. Wow, you might have to ask Kenny where the. I don't see your $160,000 here. Am I missing something?
I
So
don't see it.
yeah, it's no. So if you scroll up just a little bit, Mike, you're gonna see that the last time that this was updated, so go up even further.
Oh, it's fiscal year. Yeah, okay.
Right, this was, and if you have to actually scroll to the left a little bit. I put in here that this is fiscal year 25, and actually I think on a more recent version, I probably put in that it was from like the May general ledger, so it wouldn't have had those other approvals from May's town meeting logged in here yet. And I've checked, I haven't necessarily seen I haven't seen any other financials come out for either fiscal close of 25 or any new ones for 26 yet. So Brian, I'm on yes, I'm on the lookout for it to try to kind of keep this sheet maintained as good as possible for monthly opportunities.
Yep.
Although maybe if I show Lauren or tell Lauren how I've done this, maybe that's something that she might be able to take over in this particular spot for us.
That would be great, if she could do that. And it is curious though. This one is dated June 2025. So
yeah, because I think
town meeting was in May.
Well, so, yeah, but remember, so he sends it out in June, but it's through the previous month's records. So, so sorry if that may be, that may cause some confusion in terms of the, how, like when I go in and I look at it and I save it with a certain date because of the month we're in, but it's really the previous month's worth of actuals. You know what I mean? And sometimes there's revenue pieces that fall a little bit behind that as well. So it's got some pixie dust, inside it.
Yeah. But good comment, Brian. We'll make sure that gets in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Brian, I would assume that there'd be 160 in that expense piece. And at some point that goes out and then there's a new line under a designated account number or something that was specific for that
Right.
project. That's typically how Penny tends to do them.
Yeah.
And probably the reserved community housing account goes down by 160.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Eventually, yep. All righty.
Yep, totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to say, I did look at trying to update that, but like I said, I did see some expenditure things that came out, but nothing that not the general ledger of which I usually pull those numbers from. So, hopefully everything's, hopefully 2025 close happens in short order here. I don't know if there's a time frame of which that is targeted to be complete. But I do hope that we'll be able to start looking at some of the 2026 stuff very soon as well.
Okay. Anything else? I think we're to the end of the agenda. Any unanticipated items? All right. Thank you everyone for hanging in there. It's a longer meeting than usual, Chris. Hopefully.
Nothing I'm not used to from
Okay.
my experience in Shrewsbury.
Hope we don't scare you off.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Lot to learn.
So we're meeting on the 1st next month?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the first Wednesday. Yeah.
No, I just making sure. Sometimes when it falls on that first, at least in my soccer world, sometimes that makes us shift ever so slightly. So.
Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn. Anybody?
Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
And probably no discussion. So all in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Thanks everybody.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good
Aye.
meeting.
Good night.